Welcome to Dream Pushers. We connect you with Web3's vanguard, creators and entrepreneurs shaping the future. Hosted by Chris Jonu and presented by Draper University.
I want to quickly mention that none of this is investment advice or financial advice, trading advice, or any sort of advice. And we do not recommend any cryptocurrency or investing in any projects. We're just showcasing the stories of founders. Welcome back. This is Chris Jonu. Today we have Matt Fortnow, American computer scientist and mathematician who made significant contributions to the field of computational complexity theory. Don't worry, you don't need to know what that means. We are going to be talking primarily about NFTs, but super smart guy. He's also a professor of computer science at Georgia Institute of Technology and the founder and CEO of a consulting firm. He's best known, however, for his work on the complexity of counting problems, the relationship between randomness and computation. You can see where the blockchain stuff starts to come in there, and the design and analysis of algorithms, which received numerous awards and honors for his research, including the Goddell Prize, which is one of the highest honors in theoretical computer science. Today, we are primarily talking to him about NFT Handbook, his new book. I love the chat. Hope you do too. Cheers. Hey, Matt, thank you for jumping on the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Mate, you have such a super interesting background, so I think I need to start there before we jump into all things NFT. Can I go back as far as your education? Where do you want to start?
We can start education, go back to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. From there, I worked at the largest rap agency in New York City. At that time, we represented Run DMC, Kool Moe Dee, Kid and Play, MC Hammer, Curtis Blow, Biz Markie, De La Soul, all the big rap artists. Did that for, a year or two, and then went to law school and became an entertainment lawyer, mostly focusing on the music business, copyrights, licensing, stuff like that. I was doing that for a few years, and then we get to the mid-90s, and some friends of mine, actually fraternity brothers from Carnegie Mellon living in New York, and said they want to start up an internet company. So I got involved with that. We became the first people to put fantasy sports on the internet. Fantasy sports, if you're not familiar, it's where you pick real players, and depending upon how those players do in the real game, you get points and you compete against your friends and against strangers. And we were the first ones to put fantasy sports on the internet. We ended up doing the official NFL fantasy game, official Major League Baseball fantasy game. And then we sold that to CBS Sportsline, which is currently just CBS Sports, obviously a little different than they were 20 years ago. So ever since then, got involved in various tech projects, ended up producing a film starring legendary comedian Jonathan Winters, who unfortunately is no longer around. Then got involved in the blockchain around 2015, 2016, and then got involved in the NFT, heavily involved around 2020. One thing led to another, and I wrote the NFT Handbook for Wiley Publishing that came out October last year, and which now is in 10 different languages.
Incredible. Now, quite a bit to unpack there, Matt. I need to go back a little bit here. Starting with New York, because that's just super interesting. So how do you end up working with such a great rap label?
Okay. I grew up in New York and the New York area. So I ended up back at Carnegie Mellon. I wanted to be a DJ on the school radio station. So I got my FCC license and did all that, only to find out that you're not allowed to play popular music on college radio. Apparently, that's the college radio credo.
Makes sense.
Yeah, which makes sense. There's plenty of other pop stations around. It was the fine arts majors mostly who were running the station, and they were into this stuff like I was never exposed to before. This punk, like the Dead Kennedys or the Butthole Surfers. I wasn't really looking forward to playing that. So there was no rap in Pittsburgh at that time, so a couple other freshmen and we started up a rap department, and we wrote to all the different labels, Streetwise, Def Jam, 4th and Broadway, and they sent us music, and we played it, and it got really popular. We interviewed the Fat Boys when they were in town, and just started making connections, and ended up at the rap agency in New York.
Incredible. And then moving on to fantasy sports stuff, right? Early days of trying to put together software and stuff would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, and actually, I wasn't one of the coders that we had. I was more marketing, legal. I tested all the code. We originally started out with this loft on Fulton Street downtown, and then we moved into one of these buildings where the landlord would get a tax break if you wired it up for the internet. We would also get a tax break on our rent. So we moved into one of those buildings. We were one of the first companies in the building, and the rest of the building was practically empty. Then the building started to fill up really quickly. All these companies started, people were investors and were throwing money at all these internet companies. They had lavish offices, some super high tech, mahogany and wood. And meanwhile, we're just in our space, working away, plugging away. They would have events all the time. Like they would have Cyber Suds or Downtown Software Alliance. They called it Silicon Alley back then. And at these events, people would actually brag how big their burn rate was. So one guy would say, oh, man, our burn rate is $50,000. And people say, whoa, wow, your company must be awesome. Then the other guy would say, our burn rate is $200,000. And they'd be like, whoa, that's incredible. And I'm thinking, this is insane. This is not going to last. I don't know, less than a year later, the building was just like when we entered. It was practically empty, and we were like one of the only companies left. Those Internet 1.0 days were pretty insane.
Yeah, CyberSud sounds pretty cool. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, CyberSuds. Yeah, they had practically every day of the week, there was some kind of event going on downtown for the internet crowd.
And so this was like a passion project that was very successful, right? By CBS. Can you just walk through how that occurs?
Originally, we made a white label deal with CBS Sportsline. Our company was growing really fast. We were getting a lot of customers, and we couldn't handle it, and we needed some funding. So we were looking, and we were looking at investors, potential investors, some strategic partners as well. When it came to investors, I don't know what was going on. Everything was upside down. So, for example, we'd be talking to someone, and they say, you're a .comer. We say, yes. And they're like, okay, what's your burn rate? And we would say, oh, we don't have a burn rate. We're operating in the black. And then they would say, I thought you said it was a .com. Oh, yeah, it's a .com. It was like, they were looking at us like we're from Mars, because we had an actual .com that was actually operating in the black and making money. Anyway, we didn't really feel like giving up a ton of equity to investors at that point. So we explored various different strategic business relationships. One of them was with CBS Sportsline. I can't tell you exactly what happened at the meeting, but in essence, we said to them, look, we're doing 5 times more business than you are. And you guys, your games suck. Everybody knows it. Ours are the best. If we had our games with your brand and marketing, then it would really take off. And after some back and forth, and they agreed, and we entered into a white label. And a year and a half later, that's when they bought us out.
And so this early days planting the seeds around the NFT stuff, like you got licensing there, you got technology there, you sidetrack to a bit of film and production with some incredible projects here. But then is it then tech just brings you back in?
I like to be on like the cutting edge of tech, like what's new, like blockchain and NFTs. I'm also involved in a VR, AR company that's doing some really next level stuff. And when it comes to technology, there's always a risk jumping on something new that's proven technology or what may be a fad at the beginning. That's the bigger the higher the risk, the higher the reward. But if you believe in the technology, for example, in the internet and cryptocurrencies and even NFTs follow the same pattern. In the beginning, there's a lot of FUD. For those who don't know, FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And there's a lot of negativity. Oh, don't enter your credit card online. There was even this movie with Sandra Bullock called The Net. We're afraid of the net. And you had these, quote unquote, esteemed economists like Paul Krugman saying that the internet is going to go like the way of the fax machine. It's just a fad. It's It's going to disappear. And you had a lot of naysayers and a lot of doubters, and like a lot of friends and family thought I was crazy for leaving the legal practice to jump aboard an internet startup. This is really when most people didn't even have email yet. But if you believe in the technology, even though it hasn't been really proven yet, and the other key is to have something that solves a problem. Like using the technology to solve an existing problem. Like, for example, with the fantasy sports, many people at that time didn't play fantasy sports because it was too difficult, too time consuming. Someone had to spend literally all day on a Sunday calculating your average, composite batting averages and earned run averages and everything, compiling all that and then sending out a report to other members of the league. And then in the 80s, these fax services appeared. And they said, hey, we'll send the commissioner calculate everything and send a commissioner report once a week for $700 or $800 for the season, which we thought was ridiculous on two levels. One, that's a crazy price. And two is, for example, baseball is played every day. What am I going to do? I get a report once a week. We said with the internet, your league can have its own private website where we can have all the standings, all the free agents, all your rosters, a place where you can chat. And we can update all your scores and stats and everything automatically before you get to work the next morning every single day. And we charge $300 a league for that. Say that, let's undercut these fax services. And it just really took off. And it's weird. Honestly, we weren't expecting that kind of response. But then we realized the value that we were saving, that we were giving to our customers. And we even got emails, people like saying, oh, thanks, you saved my marriage because I don't spend so much time on my league now. It's like that, for real. And we got a few of those types of emails too. But a lot of it's just a lot of hard work. For a long time, we had our day jobs, and then we'd work on the internet company at night. And we had a policy to answer every single customer email within 24 hours, which we did, even if we had to stay up all night to do that. So it was, even though it was a lot of work, it didn't seem like work. It just seemed like I was hanging out with my friends, having fun.
And then before we jump into version 2.0 or 3.0, probably is a better way of saying it, with game credits and then onto the book and everything else. But can you pinpoint, now switching gears to the blockchain side of things, that moment where it clicked for you, the potential of blockchain or NFTs, whatever came first for you, that were like, oh.
Actually, honestly, when I first heard about Bitcoin from my brother, who was a professor at the University of Chicago at that time, computer science professor, I didn't really think much of it. It didn't really click until later on. Game Credits recruited me to help them with business development. At that time, that's when they reached out to me, that's when I really started diving into, just around 2015, that's when I really started diving into crypto, and I really saw the potential of it, not just for cryptocurrencies, but for blockchain technology as well.
Yeah, so for me, it was like, I had consultants for businesses and stuff, and yeah, it was, so I was in there and then went out. I think it's dependent on the market first time around or whatever. And then for me, the one that I guess the premise for the podcast as well is the kind of the emergence of art and creative tech for me was just the killer, the thing that I love to see, because I just personally I studied design. I'm an artist when I'm not doing work kind of stuff, and that would be, but there never seemed to be like a viable option to create art every day, right? There was no way to, and so I love the emergence of crypto with art, and this kind of the emergence of digital scarcity and new revenue streams for artists and creators. That's what kind of really did it for me. So moving forward, Game Credits becomes one. You get more involved in the NFT space. Can you talk through a couple of projects you've been excited to work on and found?
Okay, so I got involved when it came to NFTs. It was a natural progression from blockchain. I remember the original CryptoKitties back in 2017, and I started exploring around, started doing some collecting, and then given my licensing background, I said maybe I can license some properties for NFTs. So I actually, big Three Stooges fan. So I said, hey, what the heck? I reached out to the Three Stooges licensing company. When I spoke to them, they had no idea. They're like, NFT, what's that? This was back in early 21, right? And so I tried to explain it. I tried to explain to her what an NFT was. And she said, wow, that's interesting. Let me do some research and let's speak in a week. So I called her a week later and they're like, okay, let's do it. So I licensed the Three Stooges property, made the official Three Stooges NFTs, which are on OpenSea. And so that was, I guess that was my first foray into selling NFTs. Then some other projects. We created official NFT for the YouTube viral video screaming sheep the Screaming Sheep video, which the video actually came out, I think, around 10 years ago. And it was in lots of commercials, lots of memes, and it was even in the Super Bowl commercial back then. So did, for example, NFT for Trey Mann, who was first round pick in the NBA draft last year. So just various types of NFTs. And now currently I'm involved in a project, really interesting project. It's Monroe's NFTs, which are Marilyn Monroe based NFTs, but it has really cool utility. So if you're familiar with OnlyFans, there's a new site out called Wholesome Fans, which is similar, but doesn't have adult or sexually explicit content like OnlyFans does. So it's an alternative in that regard. But if you hold a Monroe's NFT, then you'll get your 100% revenue split on Wholesome Fans rather than the regular 80% revenue split. So we have that utility built into the NFTs. And there's some other ones have coming out soon as well. But yeah, it's just great to be involved in the NFT space.
So can you just talk through that last one, because it's super interesting, and I'll jump into the book and everything there. But so behind the scenes, you're doing deals with Wholesome Fans to the benefit of the NFT holders.
That's correct, because a lot of these generative NFT projects, the original one being the Bored Apes, but for example, take like In-Betweeners, the project that Justin Bieber is involved in. And the utility they have there is you get some special seating at Justin Bieber concerts, or in addition, they have various events, private party at Coachella this year, things like that. So you have that utility, and that's interesting utility. I don't think I would utilize that. I have In-Betweener, but I don't think I would really utilize that utility. But then you have ones that don't really have much utility. You have Ozzy Osbourne's Crypto Bats, and these are NFTs. They've shot up. Same with In-Betweeners, up to 2 ETH, and now they're much lower than that. But the thing with the Monroe's NFTs, and that's MONROEJIS, if you want to check that out, monroe's.com, and you can join the Discord as well. With the Monroe's NFTs, the way we looked at it is there's actual value. People can actually save a lot of money if they have a Monroe's NFT, because that 20% is a big difference, particularly if you have a lot of subscribers. And even if you're not an influencer or a content creator that has subscribers, you have to feel that as the Wholesome Fans platform grows in popularity, there's going to be more demand for those Monroe's NFTs. So if you get in early, that potentially could be get a nice return.
Yeah, love this concept. And I think there's probably a lot of projects there that are like people just pitching celebrities, right? And just going, hey, you need to have an NFT series. Here's the art. Yeah. And then God knows after that. So the book, right? So is this part like you're learning along the way and going, geez, I've learned a ton. I might as well publish something, or someone's reaching out to you. How did that come about?
Okay, so VR AR project I mentioned earlier, it's called 3Data. It's 3D data visualization and private virtual network and security operations centers. That's what they're doing. Mark Cuban is one of the seed investors in that company, and my co-author, Q Harrison Terry, handles the marketing for Mark Cuban's companies. So that's how I met my co-author, through this company that I'm an advisor of. So Q and I, we were just talking one day, and we ended up talking, I don't know, for over an hour or maybe even 2, just about NFTs, this passion that we both had. And then we found out at the same time, Wiley was looking for someone to write a book about NFTs, and it just was kismet at that point.
Can you go through some of what I've found super interesting as I'm interviewing some of the pioneers, founders from Async Art and heads from Bearable and etc. Some of the novelty in the art itself, right, around the image changes over a 24-hour period, the leaves fall off the tree, the woman in the painting gets old, Russian doll kind of thing, where after 3 months the contract releases some other element. I'd love to hear some of the cool things that were included or that you're excited about in the NFT space that are perhaps not so well known to the audience.
For example, there's a project out there that's really cool called Silks, where the NFT represents actual ownership of an actual real racehorse. They auction off the different racehorse NFTs. It's fantasy sports in a way, because the racehorse wins purses over its life. You win as well with the NFT. So you earn with the NFT as your actual real life racehorse earns. Things like that. I think particularly tying NFTs to physical real world objects. And this is being done with a lot of collectibles, and even there's a lot of fractionalization of NFTs with respect to real world objects, and also copyrights and royalty streams have been fractionalized into NFTs. So there's a lot of different opportunities with NFTs in that regard.
A nice segue to the legal kind of component around ownership and stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, given the background in the law and licensing and stuff. Obviously, perhaps there's things to be mindful of as a buyer, or how do you think it's going to evolve there?
There's a few legal issues to be mindful of. One, particularly when it comes to fractionalization of NFTs, that seems to lean more towards an investment, which would lean towards putting those particular types of NFTs in the securities category. As we saw in 2017 during the ICO craze, the SEC really cracked down, and then all the ICOs disappeared, at least in the US. You have to be mindful of that. Other issues is just because you purchase an NFT doesn't mean that you own the copyrights in the NFT, unless it's specifically stated otherwise. If I purchase an NFT, I don't have the right to make, for example, sell t-shirts with the image of that NFT, unless the rights have been specifically transferred, or in the case of NFTs like Bored Apes, there's a license, it's issued with a license that you can use the image for personal or even potentially commercial purposes as well. You have to be wary of that. There are also privacy and publicity issues. So you can't just make an NFT of a famous person's image without their permission, which is why I licensed the Three Stooges image. Although on OpenSea and elsewhere, there's several other unlicensed Three Stooges images. I see Snoop Dogg's image all over the place. So that's another area to be wary of. Even though it's being done and it's pretty rampant, you still can't do it. And then, of course, we can't avoid are the taxes associated with NFTs. Generally, you're going to have to pay capital gains tax on your gains on your NFTs.
Kind of moving forward, Matt, what's exciting you now? What's getting you out of bed, and what are you passionate about at the moment?
What's exciting me now is the metaverse and all the potential there with the play-to-earn gaming, the Axie Infinity, NFTs, and the metaverse and everything, and crypto is... It's obviously in the bull market right now, so things have really cooled off, but I do believe everything's going to turn around. My only hesitation about the metaverse is that people don't really like to wear those headsets for extended periods of time. So I think with respect to the metaverse, and it has huge potential with avatar NFTs and land NFTs and all that. There's huge potential there, but I see it more as a hardware issue. Once those headsets become much more lightweight, easier to wear, then I think we're going to see an explosion of the metaverse in the future.
Thank you very much for jumping on the call. Really love the conversation and look forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks so much for having me. And I look forward to seeing what's next too.
All right. I have all the stuff in the show notes for everyone that's listening.
Thank you for joining Dream Pushers. Inspired. Subscribe and share. With dedication, craft your legacy. Push boundaries.